On my birthday, my wealthy grandpa smiled and asked, "So how have you been spending your $5.2 million trust fund?" I froze and replied, "What trust fund?" My parents suddenly went pale. Grandpa turned to them and said, "Then tell me, where did the money go?" My name is Emily Hayes, and I'd been grinding away as a web developer at a tiny tech startup in Austin, Texas for the past 4 years, nothing glamorous. We operated out of a converted warehouse in East Austin with questionable air conditioning and a break room that always smelled like burnt coffee. But I was proud of this work. I'd built myself up from nothing, or so I thought. I shared a cramped 2-bedroom apartment in South Austin with my roommate, Becca. The place had seen better days: cracked tiles in the bathroom, a kitchen faucet that leaked no matter how many times maintenance fixed it, and walls so thin I could hear our neighbors' entire lives playing out next door. The August heat made our ancient AC unit work overtime, and we resigned ourselves to keeping the thermostat at 78 just to avoid a heart attack-inducing electric bill. Here's what you need to know about my family. My grandfather, William Hayes, was seriously loaded. The man had made a fortune in the oil business back in the 70s and 80s, then smartly diversified into tech stocks before the boom. We're talking tens of millions, maybe more. He lived up in Dallas, and I only saw him 3 or 4 times a year. But we stayed close through texts and video calls. He was one of the few people in my family I actually trusted. My parents, Richard and Catherine Hayes, lived in a sprawling 6-bedroom house in Westlake Hills, one of the wealthiest zip codes in Texas. Infinity pool, 4-car garage, outdoor kitchen, the whole 9 yards. They vacationed in the Bahamas twice a year. Drove matching Range Rovers, and my mother had more Hermes bags than she had days in a month. They were living large, and everyone knew it. Meanwhile, I was drowning in $95,000 of student loan debt from my computer science degree at UT Austin. Yeah, you read that right, nearly 6 figures in the hole. When I graduated 6 years ago, my parents showed up to the ceremony, gave me a quick hug, and handed me a professionally wrapped gift. I remember being so excited, thinking maybe they'd help with my loans or give me a down payment for a car, something practical. Instead, it was a hardcover book titled The Millennial's Guide to Financial Independence. My dad clapped me on the back and said, "Time to make your own way in the world, kiddo. We believe in you." That was it. No check, no help, just a book I could have downloaded for $9.99. I never asked Grandpa William for money. Pride, I guess. I wanted to prove I could make it without handouts, even if it meant surviving on breakfast tacos and store-brand ramen, shopping exclusively at Goodwill, and driving a beat-up 2008 Honda Civic that made concerning noises every time I hit 45 mph. Then 2 weeks before my birthday, my world started crumbling. My boss, Derek, called me into his cramped office on a Wednesday afternoon. The look on his face told me everything before he even opened his mouth. "Emily, I'm really sorry, but we have to let you go. Company's running out of runway. We're downsizing the entire dev team." 10 minutes later, I was loading my desk plants and that stupid Keep Calm and Code On mug into a cardboard box. I had maybe 3 months of savings if I stretched every dollar until it screamed. Rent was due in 2 weeks. My student loan payment was coming up, and I had no job, no prospects, and no safety net. I called my parents that evening, sitting in my car in the parking lot, because I couldn't face going back to the empty apartment yet. I was trying so hard not to cry. "Mom, I lost my job today," I said, my voice cracking despite my best efforts. "Oh, that's unfortunate, sweetie," she said. I could hear her typing on her laptop in the background, not even bothering to stop. "But you're resourceful. You'll figure something out." "Mom, I'm really struggling here. I don't know how I'm going to make rent next month. I was wondering if maybe—" "Well, perhaps you should have built up a better emergency fund," she interrupted. "Financial planning is crucial, Emily. We gave you that book for a reason." She paused. "Anyway, we need to talk about your birthday. I've made reservations at Uchi for Saturday night. The omakase menu. It'll be fabulous." "Mom, that place is like $250 per person. I literally just told you I can't afford rent." "Nonsense. Birthdays are important. You can't skimp on celebrations, darling. It's tradition." Her voice dropped slightly. "And Emily, please don't bother your grandfather with any of this. He's been having some health issues lately, heart problems. We don't want to stress him out." I wanted to scream into the phone. Instead, I just mumbled an okay and hung up, sitting there in the parking lot until the sun went down and the streetlights flickered on. When I finally dragged myself home, Becca was waiting on our threadbare couch with 2 bottles of Shiner Bock and a bag of chips. "Em, you look like death," she said, patting the cushion next to her. "Sit, talk." I told her everything. The job loss, my dwindling savings, my parents' completely tone-deaf response, the expensive birthday dinner I couldn't afford but was apparently required to attend. Becca shook her head, her dark curls bouncing. "Your parents are unbelievable. Look, don't even worry about rent for now. I can cover the full amount for a couple months until you get back on your feet. We'll figure it out together." I hugged her so tight I probably cracked a rib. Becca had been my roommate for 3 years, and somewhere along the way she'd become my best friend, my chosen sister. She worked as a nurse at Dell Seton Medical Center, pulling long shifts and dealing with her own financial struggles. But here she was, offering to bail me out without a second thought. The day of my birthday arrived too quickly. I pulled on my only nice dress, a navy blue thing I'd found at a consignment shop years ago, and caught the bus to Uchi. My parents were already seated at a corner table when I arrived. My mother wore a diamond tennis bracelet that could have paid my rent for a year. My dad sported his Omega Seamaster watch. "Happy birthday, darling," Mom said, air-kissing both my cheeks. "You look tired. Are you getting enough sleep?" "Thanks, Mom," I muttered. The conversation was excruciating. They talked about their upcoming trip to Turks and Caicos, the new Range Rover Sport my dad had just ordered, my mother's private Pilates sessions at the country club. Not one word about my job situation. Not one question about how I was doing. Just an endless stream of their accomplishments and acquisitions. Then the restaurant door opened and in walked Grandpa William with his executive assistant Sharon. Even at 82, the man commanded attention. Tall, silver-haired, wearing a perfectly cut suit that probably cost more than my car. The entire restaurant seemed to notice his entrance. My parents went stiff as boards. Mom's hand flew to her bracelet. Dad's jaw clenched. "There's my favorite granddaughter," Grandpa boomed, crossing the restaurant to pull me into a real hug, the kind that actually meant something. "Grandpa, I didn't know you were coming." "Wouldn't miss your birthday for anything in the world." Sharon helped me fly in this morning. He settled into the empty chair at our table, his sharp blue eyes moving from me to my parents and back again. "So, Emily, how's life treating you?" I glanced at my mother, who was giving me a look that could freeze lava. "Oh, you know, keeping busy, working hard." "Excellent. And you're keeping an eye on your investment portfolio? Making sure those quarterly distributions are being reinvested properly?" He smiled. "That trust fund has been performing beautifully. The market's been kind to your $5.2 million. The words hung in the air like smoke after a gunshot. I blinked once, twice. "What trust fund?" The silence that followed was so complete, so profound that I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Every sound in the restaurant seemed to fade away. The clinking of glasses, the murmur of conversations, the gentle jazz playing through the speakers. Everything narrowed to this table. This moment. Grandpa's expression changed. The warm smile melted away, replaced by something cold and dangerous. When he spoke, his voice was quiet but sharp as a knife. "The trust fund I established when you were born. $5 million in initial capital to be transferred to your direct control when you turned 25. My mouth opened, but nothing came out. 5 million, 25. I was 29 now. 4 years ago, I should have. Richard, Catherine. Grandpa's voice could have cut steel. "Would you care to explain why my granddaughter has no knowledge of her trust fund?" My dad cleared his throat, his face pale. "There must be some kind of misunderstanding, William. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. And while we are at it," Grandpa continued, his voice dropping even lower, which somehow made it more terrifying. "What about the condo in Hyde Park, the one I purchased for Emily's 25th birthday, the one I gave you the keys to deliver to her?" "Condo," I whispered. The room was starting to spin. My mother's face had gone from white to green. She looked like she might be sick right there at the table. My dad couldn't meet anyone's eyes. Grandpa pulled out his phone. Sharon, get me Leonard Fitzgerald on the line now. He looked at the restaurant manager who had been hovering nearby. We need a private room immediately. The manager practically sprinted to accommodate him. Within minutes, we were being ushered into an intimate private dining room. The door closed behind us, sealing us off from the rest of the restaurant. My hands were shaking and I couldn't seem to catch my breath. 20 minutes later, a man in an expensive three-piece suit entered carrying a leather briefcase. He was maybe 50, with graying temples and the kind of face that said he'd seen everything and wasn't impressed by any of it. Leonard Fitzgerald, he said, extending his hand to me. Your grandfather's chief legal counsel. My parents sat frozen in their chairs. My mother kept twisting her bracelet around and around her wrist. My dad stared at the table like it might open up and swallow him. Leonard opened his briefcase and pulled out a thick stack of documents. The whisper of paper was the only sound in the room. Miss Hayes, the lawyer began, his voice professionally neutral. Your trust fund was established with an initial deposit of $5 million on the day you were born. With compound interest and strategic investment over 29 years, it should currently be valued at approximately $5.2 million. The number hit me like a physical blow. Your parents were designated as trustees until you turned 18, Leonard continued. At that point, they were legally obligated to inform you of the trust's existence. At 25, full control and access should have been transferred directly to you. Mr. Fitzgerald, Grandpa said, his voice icy calm, please pull up the current balance. The lawyer tapped on his tablet for a moment, his expression darkened. The current balance is approximately $340,000. The room exploded. What? I shot to my feet so fast my chair toppled backward. Where's the rest of it? Where's my money? Leonard's fingers moved across his tablet, pulling up document after document. I have the complete transaction history here. Let me see. Systematic withdrawals began approximately 9 years ago. Large transfers include mortgage payoff of $780,000, vehicle purchases totaling $420,000, specifically 2 Range Rover Sports and 1 Tesla Model X. Each item felt like another knife in my back. Home renovation, $510,000. Investment in Catherine Hayes' boutique venture, $650,000, marked as total loss. Leonard's voice remained maddeningly calm as he recited the litany of theft. Multiple luxury vacations, European tours, Caribbean cruises, Bahamian resorts, first-class flights throughout. And here, purchase of a vacation property in Cabo San Lucas for $2.3 million. My mother started crying. Not the real kind of crying, the performative kind she did when she wanted sympathy, when she needed to manipulate a situation back in her favor. Please, she sobbed. Please, you have to understand. Understand what? My voice came out as a roar. I didn't recognize it as my own. Understand that you stole from your own daughter? My dad finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. We were going to tell you. We needed time to what? Grandpa's voice was colder than I'd ever heard it. To steal the rest? To cover your tracks? To run? The word run hung in the air. Leonard cleared his throat. Mr. Hayes, I should mention that our preliminary investigation revealed flight reservations, 2 one-way tickets to Buenos Aires, Argentina, departing this coming Tuesday, business class. My mother's fake crying stopped abruptly. My dad's face somehow went even paler. You were going to run? I couldn't breathe. You came to my birthday dinner knowing you were about to flee the country with what's left of my money. We can explain, Dad started, but his voice died when he saw Grandpa's expression. I gave you a book about financial literacy for graduation, I said, my voice shaking with rage. A book, while you were spending millions, my millions. Do you know how many nights I went to bed hungry because I had to choose between groceries and loan payments? Do you know how many times I walked to work in the rain because I couldn't afford to fix my car? Do you have any idea what it's like to be terrified every single day that you'll end up homeless? You needed to learn independence. My mother whispered, not meeting my eyes. Independence? I was screaming now. You let me believe I was poor while you bought vacation homes with my money. Enough, Grandpa said, and everyone fell silent. When he spoke again, his voice was quiet but absolute. Now, the condo in Hyde Park. I purchased it 2 years ago for $1.4 million, fully paid. I gave you both the keys to give to Emily. Where is that property? The silence stretched so long I thought it might snap. Finally, my dad spoke, his voice barely audible. We've been renting it out. Excuse me. Grandpa's voice was dangerously soft. The rental income, Mom stammered. It was just sitting there empty and we thought. Leonard was already typing. I show the property deed here. 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,400 square feet in Hyde Park. Current market rental rate for that unit is approximately $3,200 per month. He looked up. 2 years of rental income would total approximately $76,800. So you collected $76,800 in rent, I said slowly, my voice deadly calm now, from my condo, while I lived with cockroaches and a leaking ceiling and a bathroom that flooded every time it rained. My mother was crying again, real tears this time. Grandpa stood up slowly. When he spoke, every word was precise and final. Give me the keys. Mom's hands trembled as she opened her designer purse, a purse probably bought with my money. She pulled out a key ring with 2 keys and a fob. For a moment she held them like she was actually considering refusing. Then she looked at Grandpa's face and thought better of it. She reached across the table and placed them in front of him. These are your daughter's keys, Grandpa said, sliding them across to me. 2 years late. I picked them up. They were still warm from being in her purse. My keys, my condo, mine. Grandpa turned to Sharon. I want a complete forensic audit. Every account Richard and Catherine have touched in the last decade. Every asset, every transaction, every penny. I want to know where every dollar went. Yes, Mr. Hayes, Sharon said, already typing on her phone. You can't do this to us, my mother shrieked. We're family. Family doesn't steal from family, Grandpa replied. Get out, both of you. My attorneys will be in touch before the end of the day. And Richard, Catherine, don't even think about leaving the state. We've already contacted the authorities. If you try to board that flight to Argentina, you'll be arrested at the gate. My parents stood up like zombies. My dad looked like he'd aged 20 years in 20 minutes. My mom's designer mascara was running down her face, and for once, she didn't seem to care about her appearance. Emily, Dad said, his voice breaking. Sweetheart, please. Don't, I said, just don't. They left. The click of my mother's Louboutin heels on the hardwood floor sounded like a countdown. My dad's shoulders were hunched, defeated. They looked like strangers. The door closed behind them, and suddenly I couldn't hold it together anymore. My legs gave out, and I sank back into my chair, shaking uncontrollably. Grandpa came around the table and pulled me into his arms. A real hug. The kind that says, I've got you, and everything's going to be okay. I'm so sorry, sweetheart, he said. I should have been watching. I trusted them and I shouldn't have. How could they do this? I sobbed into his suit jacket. How could they watch me suffer and not feel anything? I don't know, but we are going to fix what we can. He pulled back and looked at me, his hands on my shoulders. Emily, you need to decide something. Do you want to press criminal charges? This is grand larceny, fraud, embezzlement. They could go to prison for years. I looked down at the keys in my hand. Thought about all those years of struggle, all those nights of instant ramen and anxiety, all those tears over bills I couldn't pay, jobs I couldn't take because I couldn't afford the wardrobe or the car to get there. All those times I felt like a failure because I couldn't seem to get ahead while my parents posted vacation photos on Facebook while they lived like royalty on my money. I need time to think. Grandpa, is that okay? Take all the time you need. He paused. But Emily, you should know, Sharon found something else. They've been liquidating assets. The Cabo house was listed 3 days ago. They were planning to take the money and disappear. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment thing. They've been planning their escape for weeks. The betrayal hit me like a second wave. They hadn't come to my birthday dinner out of love. They'd come to say goodbye without actually saying goodbye. to see me one last time before they vanished with whatever they could salvage. "I need to go home," I said. My voice sounded hollow even to my own ears. "I need to think." "Sharon will drive you," Grandpa said. "And Emily, that condo is yours. You can move in whenever you're ready. I'll have Sharon coordinate getting the current tenants out. They have 30 days' notice as of today." I got back to my apartment around 11 that night. Becca was waiting on the couch with a pint of Bluebell ice cream and 2 spoons. "Tell me everything," she said. I told her all of it. The trust fund, the stolen millions, the condo in Hyde Park I never knew existed, my parents planning to flee to Argentina. She sat there with her mouth open the entire time, occasionally making small, shocked noises. "Holy hell, Em," she finally said. "This is like something out of a movie. Your parents are actual criminals. Like, go to federal prison criminals." I know, I still can't process it. "Wait." Becca's eyes went wide. "You have a condo in Hyde Park? Do you know how expensive Hyde Park is?" I held up the keys. 2 bedrooms. 2 years of rental income they pocketed while I was living here with our charming wildlife. Right on cue, I heard a scratching sound from the kitchen. Our mice were back. "Those absolute bastards," Becca said. And we both started laughing until we were crying until we were laughing again. The whole thing was so absurd and horrible and surreal that our brains couldn't process it any other way. The next morning, Sharon called. "Emily, I need to walk you through what we found so far. Can you meet me downtown?" We met at a coffee shop near the courthouse. She had a laptop, a tablet, and 3 thick folders. "The forensic audit is revealing quite a bit," she said, opening the first folder. "Your parents were very systematic about the theft. They started small about 9 years ago. Just 20 or 30,000 here and there, probably testing to see if anyone was watching. When no red flags went up, they escalated." She showed me spreadsheets, bank statements, transaction records. It was overwhelming. My entire young adult life laid out in numbers and dates. The Cabo house was the single biggest purchase, but the daily spending was constant. Your mother spent $12,000 on a handbag last month. Your father bought a boat, well, a yacht, actually, 6 months ago. We are working with the courts to seize all assets purchased with trust fund money. How does that work? Judge issued an emergency asset freeze yesterday afternoon. They can't access any of their accounts right now. We're documenting everything. Then we'll force liquidation to recover what we can. The house in Westlake Hills will be sold. The Range Rovers will be repossessed. The yacht will be seized. Everything. Where are they staying? Best Western off I-35. Your grandfather is being generous by not pressing criminal charges immediately. He's giving them a chance to cooperate fully with asset recovery. If they do, and if they pay full restitution, he might consider not sending them to prison. Might. The word hung there. Grandpa's legal team worked with terrifying efficiency. Within a week, the Cabo house sold to a cash buyer. The Westlake Hills house went on the market with a forced sale rider. Would accept any reasonable offer. Both Range Rovers were repossessed from the Best Western parking lot. The yacht, which I learned was a 42-foot Sierra that my dad had named Easy Living, was seized from its slip at Lake Travis. My phone rang constantly. Mom, Dad, numbers I didn't recognize. I let them all go to voicemail. I just couldn't. Becca was my rock. "You want to go see your condo?" she asked one evening. "Your real condo." We drove over in her car. Hyde Park was beautiful. Old oak trees lining quiet streets, historic homes mixed with modern condos, coffee shops, and restaurants on every corner. My building was a sleek 4-story structure with a doorman who somehow already knew my name. "Miss Hayes," he said, smiling. "Mr. William called, said you'd be coming by. Welcome home." Home. The word felt foreign. The condo was on the 3rd floor. Hardwood floors, huge windows overlooking Ship Park, updated kitchen with granite counters, 2 bedrooms, 2 full baths, modern fixtures throughout. And it was furnished. My parents had furnished it for the renters. I found the rental agreements in a kitchen drawer. They'd been charging $3,100 a month, $76,800 over 2 years, while I lived in a place where I had to check my shoes for roaches every morning. That night, Grandpa called. Emily, we've recovered about $2.8 million so far. The houses sold quickly. Westlake market is strong. The yacht brought in more than expected. We're liquidating their investment portfolios now. What's left of them? We'll recover most of it. What about my parents? Where are they now? He paused. They're living in that motel. Your father found a job at a small insurance agency in Round Rock. Your mother is working as a receptionist at a dental office. They've agreed to pay restitution, $1,500 a month until the debt is settled. It won't be quick, but it's something. I felt a strange twinge, not sympathy exactly, something else, something I couldn't name. The next 2 weeks were a blur. Becca helped me pack up my stuff from our apartment. You know I'm going to miss having you as a roommate, she said, carefully wrapping my sordid collection of mismatched plates in newspaper. Becca, I owe you everything. You offered to cover my rent when I had nothing. Let me help you now. Grandpa has connections. Let me ask him about getting you into a better position at the hospital, or maybe... You don't have to. Yes, I do. You're my best friend. You were there for me when my own parents were robbing me blind. Please let me do this. Grandpa made some calls. Within a week, Becca had 3 interviews at different hospitals, each offering significant pay increases and better benefits. She ended up taking a position at St. David's Medical Center as a charge nurse, with a salary that was $30,000 more than she'd been making. This is insane, she said, staring at the offer letter. I can actually start saving money. I can get a decent car. I can breathe. You deserve it, I said. You've always deserved it. Meanwhile, the investigation continued. More details emerged, each one worse than the last. My father hadn't worked in almost 5 years. He'd been pretending to go to his office every day, actually going to coffee shops and the library, maintaining the illusion. My mother's boutique had failed 6 years ago, losing not just the trust fund money but another $200,000 they'd borrowed from friends. They'd been completely broke, living entirely off my money for years. Their country club friends disappeared overnight. Turns out nobody wants to associate with people who steal millions from their own daughter. The shame was public and absolute. Grandpa set up meetings with financial advisors for me. You need to learn this, he said firmly. Never be dependent on anyone else understanding your money. Never trust anyone completely with your finances. I made that mistake with your parents. And look what happened. I learned about investment portfolios, market trends, diversification, risk management. I learned about trusts and protections and estate planning. All the things my parents should have taught me but didn't, because they were too busy spending my inheritance. 3 weeks after the birthday dinner, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Emily, it's Mom. I almost hung up. My finger hovered over the button. Please just listen for 1 minute, please. What do you want? We're in a little inn in Round Rock. Your father is working at State Farm. I'm answering phones at Bright Smile Dental. We're making $4,200 a month combined. After rent and bills and restitution, we have about $200 left over. Her voice cracked. We have nothing, Emily, nothing. You have exactly what you left me with, Mom. Debt and struggle. We're your parents. Parents don't steal from their children. Parents don't watch their kids suffer while they vacation in Cabo. Parents don't plan to flee the country after robbing them blind. We're getting help. We're seeing a therapist. We're trying to understand what we did, why we did it. Good for you. Don't call me again. If I'm ever ready to talk, I'll call you. She started crying. Real crying this time. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We destroyed everything for things, for a life that wasn't even real. I hung up. That night I sat in my beautiful condo, my condo, and looked out at the park. The trees were lit up, people walking their dogs, a couple sitting on a bench sharing ice cream. Normal life, the kind of life I never thought I'd have. Becca came over with Thai food. You okay? She asked. I don't know. They're my parents. They're horrible, but they're my parents. You don't owe them anything, Em. I know. But Grandpa had another health scare last week. Minor heart palpitations, but it made me think about family, about what matters. Your grandfather is your real family. I'm your family too, if you'll have me. Always, I said, and I meant it. A year passed. I'd started my own web development consulting firm, Hayes Digital Solutions. It started small, just me and a laptop, but word spread. My first clients were startups in Austin's tech scene. Then I landed a contract with a major retail company, then another with a healthcare provider. I hired 2 developers, then a designer, then a project manager. We moved into an office in the domain, and I was actually making real money. Money I'd earned with my own skills, my own work. Grandpa and I had dinner every Sunday without fail. He taught me about business, about investments, about protecting yourself while still taking smart risks. His heart issues had stabilized, but they'd scared both of us, made us realize how much time we'd wasted, how much he'd missed while trusting my parents to do right by me. Becca was thriving at St. David's. She'd moved into a nice 1-bedroom in Muller, and we had brunch every Saturday morning at Snooze. She was still my best friend, my chosen sister, the family I'd picked for myself. My parents had been going to therapy. I knew because their therapist sent quarterly reports to the court as part of their restitution agreement. They were being treated for something called compulsive spending disorder and financial codependency. They were still paying $1,500 a month, small but steady. Dad still worked at State Farm. Mom kept her receptionist job. I hadn't spoken to them in a year. Then, 2 years after that birthday dinner, my assistant knocked on my office door. "Emily, there's a Catherine Hayes here to see you." My heart stopped. "Tell her," I started to say. "Tell her to leave," but something stopped me. "Give me 5 minutes, then send her in." My client left and Mom walked in. She looked so different. Her hair was gray at the roots. She couldn't afford her colorist anymore. She wore simple clothes from Target, maybe Ross. No design or anything. She looked smaller somehow, older. "What do you want, Mom?" "To apologize." "Really apologize?" She gestured to a chair. I nodded, and she sat down carefully like she expected me to throw her out any second. "We were wrong," she said. So wrong. The therapy has helped us understand what we did. We were addicted to spending, to the status, to feeling important. We told ourselves so many lies to justify it. "You stole from your own daughter." "I know." At first we told ourselves we were just borrowing. Just a little for the house, then the car, then we couldn't stop. Every time we took money, we needed more. The therapist says it's like any addiction. It just escalates. You watched me struggle. You knew I was eating ramen and walking to work in the rain, and you did nothing. We convinced ourselves you needed to struggle, that it was building character, but really we just didn't want to stop spending. She pulled an envelope from her purse and set it on my desk. "This is from both of us. Our therapist said we should write everything down, take full accountability." I didn't open it. "Emily, I don't expect forgiveness. We don't deserve it. But I need you to know that we understand now. We destroyed our relationship with you for things, for a fake life built on your money. We became criminals. You were going to run." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "We were so deep in denial. We thought if we could just get away, start over somewhere new, we could pretend it never happened. But your grandfather, he saved us from making it even worse, from becoming fugitives." We sat in silence. "Your father's doing better with routine," she finally said. "The regular job, the structure, and I'm learning to live simply. We have a small apartment, we take the bus, we cook at home. It's like learning to be human again." "Are you asking me for something?" "No," she said softly. "Just hoping that maybe someday you might let us be a tiny part of your life again. We're getting help. We're paying what we can. We're trying to be better people, that's all." I looked at this woman who gave birth to me, who raised me, who then betrayed me completely. "I'm not ready," I said. "I might never be ready." "I understand. But keep going to therapy. Keep paying the restitution. Keep working on yourselves, maybe someday. I'm not promising anything." She stood up, nodding. "That's more than we deserve. Thank you for seeing me." After she left, I sat there holding the envelope. Finally, I opened it. 18 pages handwritten. Both their handwriting, alternating paragraphs. Every dollar they'd taken, every lie they'd told, every justification they'd made to themselves. And apologies, so many apologies. I read the first page, then the second. By the third page, I had to stop. It was too much. I put it in my desk drawer. Maybe someday I'd be ready to read the rest. Maybe not. That night, I had dinner with Grandpa at his favorite steakhouse. I told him about Mom's visit. "What do you think I should do?" I asked. "That's your decision, sweetheart. They're paying for what they did. Whether you let them back into your life even a little bit, that's entirely up to you. Have you forgiven them?" "No," he said bluntly. "They stole from my granddaughter. They betrayed the most sacred trust. But I'm old, Emily. I've learned that holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It only hurts you." Becca was more direct when I told her over brunch. "They're toxic, Em. Always will be. But they're also your parents. If you want to try some kind of limited relationship someday, I'll support you. If you never want to see them again, I'll support that too. Whatever you need." My business kept growing. We landed a huge contract with a national retailer. I hired 3 more people. We moved to a bigger office with actual conference rooms and a break room that didn't smell like despair. I was successful, really successful, on my own merit with my own work. The recovered trust fund, now sitting at $3.1 million after all the asset sales, was invested properly. I understood every cent of it. I reviewed the quarterly statements myself. I'd never be dependent on anyone else managing my money ever again. My parents kept paying their restitution, kept going to therapy. They sent a card on my 30th birthday. Just happy birthday and their signatures. No long message, no manipulation, just acknowledgement. I didn't respond, but I didn't throw it away either. They sent a Christmas card that year. Simple, probably from Dollar Tree. "Thinking of you, love, Mom and Dad. Baby steps maybe or maybe not. I wasn't ready to decide yet, but I was happy. I had my condo, my business, my real family, and Grandpa William and Becca. I had a life I'd built with my own hands. Even when the deck was stacked against me. Even when the people who should have helped me were actively sabotaging me. And honestly, that felt better than any trust fund ever could, because it was mine. Really, truly mine. Built on my own skills, my own determination, my own refusal to give up, even when I had every reason to. My parents, for all their theft and lies, had inadvertently taught me something valuable. I didn't need their money or their approval or their love to succeed. I had everything I needed inside myself, and that was something they could never take away from me. Not with all the stolen millions in the world. 6 months later, on a random Tuesday, I was working late at the office when my phone rang. "Grandpa, hey, what's up? Can you come by the house? There's something I want to show you." I drove to his place in Tarrytown, a beautiful mid-century modern home he'd owned for 40 years. He was waiting on the porch, looking healthier than he had in months. "I've been thinking," he said as we sat on the porch swing, "about legacy. About what really matters. I've spent my whole life building wealth, but I forgot to make sure the people I loved actually knew how to handle it." "Grandpa," let me finish. "I'm updating my will, creating new trusts, but this time with ironclad protections. And I'm bringing you in as co-trustee for the family foundation. I want you to learn the business side, the charitable side, all of it. I want you to be ready." "Ready for what?" "To carry on what I built. The right way, with your head on straight and your values intact. You proved you can make it on your own. Now I want to teach you how to help others do the same." We talked for hours that night, about his vision for the foundation, about helping kids whose parents couldn't or wouldn't support them, about scholarships and microloans and mentorship programs. "We'll call it the Hayes Opportunity Foundation," he said, "because everyone deserves a real opportunity. Not just empty promises and stolen futures." 3 years after that birthday dinner, I ran into my father at an HEB. He was wearing a State Farm polo. Looked tired, but somehow more genuine than I'd ever seen him. "Emily," he said, clearly shocked. "Dad." We stood there in the produce section, surrounded by people buying avocados and tomatoes, living their normal lives. "You look good," he finally said. "I've been following your company, saw the article in the Austin Business Journal. You're doing amazing things." "Thank you. I'm proud of you. I know I have no right to say that, but I am." I nodded, didn't know what to say. "We're still in therapy, still paying every month, still trying to understand how we became those people." He paused. "Your mother and I, We talk about you every day. Wonder how you're doing, if you're happy, if you'll ever—" His voice broke. "We know we don't deserve forgiveness, but we hope someday you might at least understand that we are trying to be better." "I hope you are," I said. And I meant it. Not for them. For me. Because carrying around all that anger was exhausting. Can I give you a hug?" he asked. I hesitated, then nodded. It was awkward and brief, but it was something. "Take care of yourself, Dad. You too, sweetheart." I watched him walk away and I felt something shift. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, just a tiny bit of peace. That night I pulled out their letter from my desk drawer. Read it all the way through. Every page, every apology, every admission of guilt. Then I wrote them a letter back. Not long, just a few paragraphs. "I'm not ready to have you back in my life in any real way. Maybe I never will be. But I want you to know that I'm okay. Better than okay. I've built something I'm proud of. And I did it without your help. Ironically, because you made sure I couldn't have your help. Keep going to therapy. Keep paying what you owe. Keep trying to be better people. Not for me, for yourselves. Maybe someday we can have coffee. Maybe not. But I don't hate you anymore. I'm too busy being happy to waste energy on hate. Emily." I mailed it before I could change my mind. Now at 32, I'm sitting in my office. My company just signed our biggest contract yet. Becca just got engaged to a fantastic guy she met at the hospital, and she asked me to be her maid of honor. Grandpa is healthy and happy, still teaching me new things every week. My parents are still working their regular jobs, still in therapy, still paying restitution. They'll be paying for another 8 years at their current rate. We have coffee once every few months now. It's stilted and awkward, but it's something. I may never fully forgive them, but I'm learning that you can move forward without forgiveness. You can build a life without closure. The Hayes Opportunity Foundation launched last month. Our first round of scholarships went to 20 kids who, like me, had the grades and the drive, but not the financial support. We paired each one with a mentor, made sure they had what they needed, because everyone deserves a real chance, not a stolen one. I still drive past my old apartment sometimes, that place with the cockroaches and the leaky ceiling. It reminds me of where I came from, of what I survived, of what I built from nothing. And every time I smile, because that struggle, as awful as it was, made me who I am. It taught me resilience and self-reliance and the difference between real wealth and fake luxury. My parents stole $4.8 million from me, but they couldn't steal my strength, my determination, or my ability to build something real. And in the end, that's worth more than any trust fund ever could be.